Chef Boyardee asking the big questions. Why does God allow evil to happen? This is not a insignificant question. This is a question worthy of discussion. This is one of those things that if people haven't thought to ask the question, they will, right? And the longer version of the question, if we want to make it even more difficult, is that we preface this with why, if God is in fact all good and all powerful, then why does God allow evil to happen? Right? That's the truly difficult question. As I wait for Baller here to join, we'll talk. The answer is God allows us to have free will. God chooses not to intervene to prevent us from causing evil to happen. This is what happened in the Garden of Eden. It's been happening ever since. And if I were to explain it in a tangible sense, okay, God has given us tools, gifts, things that are meant for good, meant for His glory, meant for our benefit. If I were just to use my own hand as an example, He has given me a hand to build, a hand to help, a hand to be a useful tool to help others. If we were talking face to face, and if I were to, instead of using my hand to reach out in friendship or helping somebody up or to build something or in some way, symbolically maybe, but in some way of using it, instead, if I use this hand to smack you across the face, a fellow human created in God's image, worthy of honor, worthy of respect, and I instead defile you, I degrade you and degrade the gift God has given me. Essentially, the question is, why doesn't God just drop down like a shield or something to prevent me from doing exactly that? But what we can see is the responsibility is mine. I'm the one who has every opportunity to use it for good, and instead I use it for evil. It's not God's fault. So what He has done is He has allowed me to have free will. He doesn't want me to be a puppet with no choice. He wants me to be able to choose to do good. I have chosen to do wrong. I am a sinner. We, in fact, all are sinners. And so we've all done wrong. It is not a thing that brings God glory to make a bunch of robots, to make a bunch of NPCs, as we might say in gaming, who have no choice but to follow the programming script that they have been given. Instead, He gives us a will. He gives us a conscience. He gives us the knowledge of what is right and what is wrong. And if we then choose to do the right thing, that is to His glory. And unfortunately, we tend not to. And therefore, evil is allowed to happen. Evil is not caused by God, but it is allowed by God because He loves us enough to give us the choice of our own rather than forcing us like a robot, like a puppet. I hope that helps answer the question. Ooh, follow-up. Okay. If He doesn't interfere due to our free will, why does He intervene many times throughout the Old Testament? This is a very good follow-up. Thank you again. Thank you for the question. So, our perspective is one of... Here, I'll start the game just so that we have some... Or maybe we should spectate. How about that? So I don't have to be divided in my attention. If our perspective is one of, it's not fair that God is intervening on some people's behalf and not on others, and if we do these different things, we actually have the wrong perspective. The perspective ought to be, fortunately it doesn't have to be, but it ought to be, that God being good and us having rejected Him, He is justified in judging us on the spot. It's not a question on, why does God allow bad things to happen? It's a question on, God being good, why didn't he judge me, after a day of doing evil? Why am I allowed another breath this morning? Why am I allowed another sunrise? I don't deserve it. Mankind doesn't deserve it. And so if we broaden this to the entire history of mankind does not deserve God to intervene for mankind's benefit when it was man who rejected God. We rebelled. We said, no, I don't want God. God could have just let us be. That would be fair. He could have just said, yeah, all right, you get what you're asking for. But he didn't. Instead, he did intervene. It's unfair that he intervened, but it's unfair against him, not against us. It's unfair against him. It's unfair against his own justice that he allowed, you're talking Old Testament specifically, that he allowed Abraham, and then through Abraham, Israel and the descendants there, and the whole nation of Israel. It's unfair that he allowed anyone to have access to him when we are all unrighteous, all unworthy of accessing a holy God, when we're all sinners. And yet he made a way for them to do it. He used the sacrificial system in the Old Testament, which is a picture of the Messiah, Jesus, being the sacrifice to come. And so he intervenes because he loves us, and he puts off the judgment we deserve so that he could put it on Jesus instead. There's a lot of theological terms that I skipped over in order to get to that conclusion. But boiled down, he doesn't intervene because it's to our detriment. He intervenes for our benefit, and we don't deserve it. He intervened to create a nation that could then have access to understanding what is expected of God, by God, to know here's what it takes to be holy, which we can't do. Nobody ever fulfilled the law. Nobody ever finished was able to do the Old Testament. And then to intervene by sending Jesus to do exactly that, to fulfill the law, fulfill the Old Testament, to be perfect when we couldn't be. And so, again, I hope that answers the question. Feel free to continue asking. But if he allowed our free will to continue, there is nothing but judgment. There is no hope of our earning redemption. So he intervened for our benefit at the cost of his son in order to allow it. And that just means he loves us. He loves the son too, but he loves us so much that he was willing to do that. And I know not everyone's here for a sermon, so hopefully that helps answer it. But if you do have further questions, feel free to ask.